We get to share our experiences and to grow personally as well as professionally as writers.
A group of people who come together with a shared interest. I find it a great motivator because I don't want to turn up with nothing for other people to hear.
I write poetry, short stories, various attempted novels, essays, thoughts, jottings, anything and everything.
My writing is very influenced by Dr. Seuss and Mr. Rogers mainly, so I really want to help kids understand their emotions and to really tell them, you know, you have all these feelings, but it's okay. Like those are normal. Those are part of growing up into a person. So most of my writing is children's poetry.
Tolkien and like J.R. Martin would usually be my writing style, and sometimes like I remember getting told that like, oh, you sound like Ernest Hemingway, and I was like, oh Jesus Christ, Ernest Hemingway, my God. I was like, I couldn't believe it, but I'm really proud that I have a writing style I can put my name to, and I think that's my favourite thing about it.
I think we're just such funny people, you know, that real caustic humour, and I try to put that into my writing.
Look, you see the group, some of the people can write in such beautiful ways that I would struggle to figure it out, and I don't know how they do it. What comes naturally for me is how I speak, how local people speak, be it Belfast, be it Armagh, and that is what I find that comes out of me the easiest. So it's been commented, it's kind of like a local voice. It's how people communicate. And I like that. I just like the feel of it. I think it's a more natural way of doing it.
There's stories there's stuff I can't shut up about, you know. I love Diarmuid's funny stories. Diarmuid's stories just kind of blow my mind, and I've told, Catherine, you have to hear what Diarmuid's story was this week.
Some stories are real, some stories are not real. This story is not real. Or is it? It's not. Or is it? Still, no. This is called Miracle on 30 Ann Street. Martin Begley wasn't too sure about the existence of heaven or hell. He firmly believed, however, that if hell did exist, it would almost certainly have at least one small section of it dedicated to spending an eternity in a cramped card factory 3 days before Christmas. Standing motionless in the queue for one working till, where the only two sounds available to him were the screams of wayward children and Micheál Bublé echoing over the tinny sound system, which was precisely where he was stuck at this present moment. Hands laden with things from a list that had been thrust at him before going out the door. Shopping bags with thin plastic handles were now cutting into his poor, precious fingers like cheese wire. His tongue padded around the inside of his mouth like a dry sponge, miserably searching for moisture. Things hadn't always looked so forlorn. Just last night, he was the very picture of a man with the world at his feet. Pints were had and jubilations were exclaimed. Music sang through his ears and he sang back. Joy to the world and Merry Christmas, your arse. My round or is it yours? Yours so. Good man Declan, I'll get the next one. And yeah, we'll get the later bus. We have plenty of time. Well, there were no pints now, and not even so much as a room temperature bottle of water to sustain him. A young one of about 5 careened around the corner ahead at full speed, nimbled past the adults in their coats, flying into Martin's bags on his left-hand side and forcing one to briefly spin on itself, wrapping high around his ring and little finger. Like a rope swing he would have used as a child, twisting and twisting the seat as he lay across it on his belly until he could strain it no more and then release, spinning him on the spot with dizzy glee. He winced, letting the bag relax a little as he continued to shuffle. Nowhere. The bubbly teen at the till said to the lady up front, "No, I can't see it here, but sure, I'll just go out the back and check." And she jumped off her seat to head to the storeroom, popping on a Santa hat as if it required a dress code. This is it, thought Martin with despair. This might actually be what finishes me off. But then, The pressure around him seemed to change, just for a second or two. But like the air before a storm, it became full and powerful, pregnant with energy and anticipation. Then a brilliant beam of the most magnificent light appeared, subduing almost as fast to a gentle golden hum, as the light seemed to harden and take the shape of a sword. It wasn't so much as the blade formed from thin air, but was transported from another time and place, and oh, what a shape it was. Golden, faultless pommel, with a single thin gold strip circling through a grip of the deepest blue, right to the hilt. Blade broad as a man's hand. It was impossible to tell if the perfect metal was silver or gold in colour, because truthfully, it was both and neither. Light seemed to emanate from deep within, as if to suggest that it could have shone as bright as day if its wielder willed it so. A blade that had formed as two galaxies collided with one another, that in the midst of such brutal, terrible catastrophe, the stardust swirled for eons, until all that was left was a weapon that had willed itself into existence. That across the universe, centuries-long battles had ended the day this weapon appeared and decided to grace one side its aid. Scholars who searched the cosmos for its existence only knew that the blade could lay immovable for thousands of years, waiting until such a time that it felt one creature cry out in such anguish that it would go to them. And this is how it found itself to the side of Martin Begley, 38-year-old married father of 3 in the middle of Card Factory on Ann Street in Belfast. It hovered before him, an almost electric hum to it, as it waited patiently for Martin to do what he sensed he should. Because once this sword graced you with its presence, like a newborn cub to the teat, instinct took over. Martin slowly lowered the bags from his hands and grasped the handle of the blade, and it was like coming home. Like putting on a pair of comfy pants that cup and breathe in all the ways they should. A broad smile broke over his face. He swung, a gentle underarm motion upwards, but it was perfect. There would never not be a perfect swing from this sword, as it took over and did what it was created to do. It cleaved through the first row of people in front, so effortlessly. It was as if they had ceased to be there in the first place. Were it not for the blood spray and viscera, now detailing the off-white above, Martin would have thought that he had sliced through air. He had begun. It took mere seconds to cut a path through the crowd of shoppers at Card Factory, not a person there aware of the happenings until it was all too late. Begone to the Bublé's. Have at you novelty Santa and snowmen that cost 3 times what they did the previous year. A vast annoying shoppers who stopped dead in doorways to look at their phones, ignorant to the flurry of football behind them. Out now into Ann Street, and the carnage was later described on Belfast Live to be of a biblical scale. With each swing and swipe, the blade felt like it was growing in size. Crowds scattered and gutted at the mere sight of it. He was at Arthur's Square in under a minute and left the scene looking like a surreal work of abstract expressionism, like if Jackson Pollock worked exclusively in blood red. Martin parted Christian preacher heads from torsos. Going to hell? Ha! Sure, he'd been there already and queued 25 minutes for the pleasure. Buskers were separated from overly loud sound systems. And if you think that he stopped at children, well, I've disappointing news for you. There might be some solace in the fact that they were only the annoying youths, the loud and the screaming, the nagging and demanding. But when a blood frenzy is on, little else matters in the eyes of the weapon wielder. Indeed, the bold Pamela Ballantyne was soon reporting on the scene. An odd choice, given the situation. Martin might have expected more of a Conor Macaulay, or even a Barra Best. As it turns out, Pamela was picking up some last-minute gifts from Dunn's. And ever the professional sprang into action with her iPhone and a live stream on Insta, sponsored by Connolly's of Moy, of course. No matter. She too was soon an explosion of red mist, just like the rest. Soon, Martin had cut his way through to Royal Avenue and spotted the Continental Market. Brightly lit stands, colours only slightly louder than the speakers behind them, blasting noise and pound signs into your face. Pathetic pints of piss in plastic cups. As people jostled to stand on beer-soaked carpets, surrounded by loud and sweaty patrons. The symbol of all consumerism, and at its heart, the tree at City Hall. Its reign must end, thought Martin. Infused with the power of the sword, he felt that he had grown to a mountain of a man and was there within several leaps. He blasted through the crowd, sword flashing, sending entrails onto the open grills of nearby bratwurst peddlers, like they were some sort of gruesome delicacy. Staring up at the baubles and lights, he swung for the tree trunk, but the blade stopped. Confused, Martin swung again and nothing. He stepped back, dumbfounded. This cannot be, he thought to himself, raising for another swing, and, "Excuse me, mister," came the voice from the ether. More confusion, blinking away the cloudy scene of limbs and innards at his feet until clarity was upon him. Standing up was the head of an increasingly agitated middle-aged woman, heavy-set, wearing a Christmas jumper scene with Mrs. Claus' speech bubbles saying, "All I want for Santa is a ride in his sleigh," with a shirtless Santa looking over his shoulder and giggling cheekily. She was agitated because Martin seemed to have the grasp of one end of festive wrapping paper, blue with snowmen on it, dancing and building igloos. And he was thunking her over the head with it. "Would you mind not hitting me with your wee chip of wrapping paper there? It's just that it's starting to get annoying, so it is." She turned back around, flushed at the annoyance. Martin now fully back in Card Factory and the land of the living, sheepish and blushing. The shop girl was back too, and customers were being served again, the queue showing signs of life and movement. He returned the wrapping paper to the box he'd taken it out from and moved on. $4.99 for 1 metre, he noted to himself. Sure, I can get that too for the price of 3 in Tesco's. Thanks.
Diarmuid, I mean, his writing is full of his Armagh accent. I mean, you can hear it in his writing. Ciarán spent so much time in England, but he's actually from the same area as I was from, quite a bit younger. But his writing has that Belfast thing going on as well.
The majority of my writing focuses on religious, queer and political narrative, and I'm from North Belfast, and a lot of my writing is focused in and around the setting of home.
I want to tell you that things are about to take a turn, okay? So the next 4 stories are mental, and I will not be held responsible for how you feel about them. No, they're really beautiful, they're great, but they're a bit of crack, so things are about to get funny. And I was actually told to not say that in case you don't laugh, because you might not find them funny, but that's all right. So we've got Stephen up first, and then we've got Ciarán, and I'm not going to lie, that's the one that I really won't be held responsible for. Ciarán says, yeah, I'm not even going to explain it, because you'll get it.
What if Santa Claus had to turn to OnlyFans? And to be super on trend, I'll throw in a wee line from Wicked here. My story is called Hunky Claus and asks the question, are people born kinky? Or do they have kinkiness thrust upon them? Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. And it was most definitely snowing as I watched the world's #1 porn star perform a scene live on camera for his adoring fans. A show that would have made the Pleasure Boys at the Devonish look like a Hallmark Christmas movie. So there I was, in a kitschy decorated cabin just a 2-hour drive north of Lapland at the other end of my childhood hero's first ever public interview. An opportunity that Oprah would have Belfast kissed Harry and Meghan to get her mittens on. As a fierce log fire crackled to my left and flirted with my frozen beard, I desperately inspected the room to find items synonymous with the man, the legend, the curator of the infamous naughty and nice list. And in a way, they were all there. Yes, there were canes, but they were made of leather, not candy. There were stockings, but they looked something like you would find in an Ann Summers catalogue. And as for the mistletoe, I won't even mention what that was hanging from. But most importantly, the 6'4" man before me was not the trusting individual who I remembered from my holidays are coming glories of my youth. Instead, the specimen before me was dressed in knee-high boots, braces, and a red fur-lined jockstrap that advertised perfect washboard abs. In fact, this Santa looked more like the absolute ride bucket from the Diet Coke brick ads. Adverts that I pretended didn't grab my attention as a curious teenager. While I wasn't complaining and would have welcomed an invite to sit in the man's lap, all I could seem to ask myself was, what the Feliz Navidad had happened to my St. Nicholas, my Father Christmas, my Kris Kringle, my Sinterklaas, my Daddy Nanolig. However, it wasn't long before my curiosity was satisfied, not the lap-straddling fantasy, but rather the reason behind this Santa 2.0. As we sipped over mulled wine, the loved celebrity, who had been respected for over 1,600 years, explained to me that in a world of social media and the Kardashians, he had been forced to diversify his brand. He produced charts, graphs, reports, all that would have made an accountant snowball all over that grotto. And he talked me through the decrease in the number of children who believed in the magic of Christmas. Boo. It transpired that the once portly, jolly, white-bearded man identified an opportunity to carve out a new niche. Turning to the internet, this savvy businessman spotted a gap in the market for those once naughty children who had since matured into content-craving kink dogs. Having previously capitalised on Christianity in the 4th century, the genius explained to me how he had thrusted himself, so to speak, into the online world of OnlyFans. And alas, in the height of COVID, Hunky Claus was born. An adult entertainer with over 20 million subscribers to his festive fetish website, northpolehub.org. Speaking about this transformation, Hunky Claus explained, 2020 was a bit of a bitch of a year for the mythical community. Take the Sandman, for example. He ended up in therapy because humans were up all night playing online bingo. As for my elves, they went on strike claiming job dissatisfaction. And I couldn't blame them. What with people only asked for 10 tomatoes and enough toilet rolls that year? For my mental health, and with nothing really to fill my days with, I did what every other working from home spoofter did and took up sea swimming and counting my steps. Hunky Claus further explained that it was during this health and fitness phase that a new target market presented itself. He detailed, with fewer cookies and mince pies, the weight just flew off me. It was Jack Frost himself that first mentioned to me the online world. He had been showing off his Fitbit achievements on Instagram, and one day he posted a picture of us. That night, my wife screamed the cabin down. You see, Mariah Carey had commented saying she didn't want a lot for Christmas, and there was just one thing she needs. Turns out all she wanted for Christmas was me. And when I started to read the comments, people were saying the same things. There were mummies wanting to kiss me underneath the mistletoe at night, or folk asking for a good old ride in my sleigh. Then some rather choice requests started to come through, such as offers to purchase photos of my toes fondling tinsel, or people begging to watch me eat a full turkey in the nude. Whatever floats your boat, I suppose, but I saw a chance to stay relevant, and pretty much the rest is history. Over more conversation, I further discovered that the once big-bellied, diabetes-dodging senior citizen rose to a new level of fame as the silver fox of the magical world. As the wind howled outside and I nibbled on Mrs. Claus's penis-shaped gingerbread biscuits, my interviewee entertained me with some merry anecdotes. With admirers dotted around the world, he explained that most requests are very vanilla in nature and involve slipping down chimneys wearing only a sable. But then there's always one or two who ask for something a bit more spicy, such as breaking into their houses to see them when they're sleeping and know when they're awake. He even detailed one celebrity who had written to him asking for 1,000 bottles of baby oil. But under the advice of his You like that? But under the advice of his PR team, he was advised against a P. Diddy Claus collab. Asked if he has any reservations about showing his body parts to fans or promoting certain types of behaviour, the wise man detailed, "It's a reindeer eat reindeer world out there." In the last handful of years, I've lost sponsorship deals with Coca-Cola and Marks and Spencer's. There were times when I couldn't even put figgy puddings on my table. But did any scumbags, maggots, cheap lousy faggots come to check on me? Happy Christmas, your arse, they did. The man continued, "I'm happy to pass the poison chalice of Christmas gift stress to Jeff Bezos. Sure, the work I'm doing now is a big pile of yellow snow compared to joyriding around the bloody globe in one night. Now, I'm earning 500 grand a month from voyeuristic prancers and vixens who are all too jolly to pay to see me frost by Yuletide log." And as I shake the man's questionably lubricated hand farewell, I spot a diamond-encrusted Rolex. And it makes me wonder, should we all be on the nutty list instead of slaving our guts out in jobs we don't like for salaries that make Ebenezer Scrooge look generous? Will 2025 be the year that this cash-strapped journalist whips out his own sugar plums on the world of only fa-la-la-la-la-la-la-lands? Who knows? But for now, with Hunky Claus soon to be coming to town, you perverts, I'll sign off by wishing my readers a very horny Christmas and a hanky-panky New Year.
How do you follow that? But I'll tame everything down a wee bit here. The priest is back, yes. Yeah. Don't know how many Hail Marys you'll have to say for that one, Ciarán.